Hello and welcome to the Key to Unlocking Employee Financial Wellness. So many in HR roles consider improving the financial wellness of employees a priority, but find it's hard to find a program that works for them. In this podcast, Ted Rogers, who is Vice President of PayCheck Direct, recently spoke at Evanta's Leadership Summit for Chief Human Resources Officers in Minneapolis and discussed new and innovative ways of promoting responsible spending. So without further ado, here's Ted Rogers' presentation that he shared with these Midwest Fortune 1000 HR professionals. Enjoy.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the time to have a chance to talk with you folks. I'm going to talk to you today about the key to unlocking financial wellness. So what is financial wellness? What does it mean today to people? The thing is, it means something different to everyone, right? For some, it's about saving for retirement. For others, it's about setting aside that rainy day fund to be able to, for special events or in case of an emergency. Still, for others, it's about trying to manage their funds to meet their day-to-day budgetary needs, to pay their expenses, to pay their family bills. But for all, it's about trying to mitigate worry, stress, and anxiety that they have to deal with their day-to-day financial situations. So to help me illustrate what's going on in the American workforce today, I'm going to ask for volunteers from the audience, if that's all right. So I'm going to ask all of you to volunteer. So, all right, so if you first three rows of tables, if you guys could all raise your hands for just 1 minute. So what these people represent as a part of the American workforce, you can put them down, that's okay, I won't make you hold them up the whole time. What that represents for the American workforce is the 1/3 of the Americans that have $0 in savings. So sorry to say you guys have nothing. So sorry about that. But $0 in savings and little to no access to credit. So what do these people do if they're driving to work and hit a pothole and their front right tire blows out? Kind of what happened to me this spring on the great Minnesota roads. I did that twice in 3 days. So what do, right? They don't have any money. They don't have any savings, no credit. They turn to family. They could turn to friends, borrow some money maybe. Might work a couple of times. I know my family's not going to do that too many times. Or they could turn to less desirable options, payday lending. You might ask yourself, payday loans, is that something that people actually use today? The answer to that is yes, in a very big way. It's a $46 billion industry. 12 million Americans use a payday loan every year to try to help themselves meet their needs in a pinch when they don't have any other options. All right, so I'm going to ask, we'll do this again. So if you guys will raise your hands one more time, and if I can get the first three rows on this side, if you guys can raise your hands as well. So what this represents is the two-thirds, okay, you put it down again. That represents 2/3 of the American people that have less than $1,000 in savings. But we know, sorry again, you guys don't have anything, and you folks over here have up to $1,000. That's 100, 200, 300, up to 1,000. So what's that group to do? Same kind of scenario, hit a pothole. Could they use up their savings? Certainly. But then their rainy day fund's gone. They could turn to credit cards. And that's obviously one thing that many Americans turn to every year. The average American household that has a credit card balance carries over $16,000 in debt. You didn't have $1,000 to start with, and now you have $16,000 in debt. Scary situation if you think about it. What happens is only 40% of them actually pay the minimum amount due. And what that leads to is an endless cycle of interest, growing balances. So a couple years from now, that's 16,000 is 17,000. A couple years after that, that's 17 is 18,000. What this represents is the real kind of struggles that the American workforce are dealing with every single day, that your employees are dealing with every single day. And what does that lead to? It has an impact on organizations in the form of productivity and increased absenteeism. Actually, how do I advance slides? Can you go ahead one slide for me? So what happens is, in a recent study, we've identified that about 29% of Americans have actually missed a day of work. They've admitted missing a day of work because of emotional financial stress. That means they're calling in saying, I don't feel very good, right? My neck hurts, my back hurts. The scary thing is that can even lead to even more serious health considerations, migraines, ulcers, heart problems. It's amazing to think that the stress that your employees are feeling every day can actually eat away from them at the inside out. So you might be wondering, who's this guy? Why does he care about financial wellness? And actually, I've experienced a couple of scenarios in my own life that I would consider financial unwellness, if you want to make that a word. It's a pretty typical upbringing, middle America, middle-income family, had a dad that worked hard, had a wife, 3 kids. My mom got a second job to put me through college. And I thought I was going to be one of those responsible college kids. And I was already thinking about my future. I didn't want to get a credit card because I didn't want to get myself in credit card debt. Well, after I graduated, got a job, was making some money, not a lot of money, but doing okay, I thought. But another car problem for me. If you guys know me, this is an ongoing theme throughout my life. Not only did my car tire blow out twice, I also had the engine blow on mine. But anyway, in this case, I had $0 really in savings, and at that point I had no established credit. And the head on my 1985 Oldsmobile Forenza cracked. Well, luckily I had a dad that I could turn to and ask for some money to help me out. Lend me some money, get my car fixed so I could get back to work. Try to make more money to pay him back. So that worked out. But I vowed at that time I didn't ever want to see myself in that kind of situation again. It pains me to think that other people have to experience that as well. So fast forward 15 years, and we'll go to the other end of the spectrum. And that father of mine who was able to lend me money at that time, continue to work hard, had tragedy, he had a massive stroke, was unable to work anymore. And at that time, I figured he's approaching retirement age, thought he's probably doing okay, got some money stashed away. But while I was concerned about obviously for his health, I was also concerned about the well-being for him and my mother and what they were going to do to provide for themselves. Well, again, as I assumed that they had set aside enough money to probably take care of themselves, my assumptions were wrong. Apparently, he had the assumptions that he was going to work for a number of more years and try to shell away as much money as possible. Found out that they were in no way ready for retirement, and certainly no way ready for a life-changing event like they experienced. So what that led is, certainly changed my perspective, making sure, looking forward and saying I want to do everything I can and talk to my friends and family about doing everything they can, because it created an incredibly stressful environment for my family and for my mother to be able to figure out what they could do without and what they needed. Now, in the world today, it actually isn't even just have to be tragedy or emergencies. The car doesn't have to break down. But the reality is that people face every day are about making tough choices, right? It'd be Wednesday, you're at work, and you realize, oh, it's Heidi's birthday on Friday. I didn't save anything for her. What am I going to do, right? Heidi's my wife, by the way. So it's her birthday on Friday. I haven't saved. I don't have any room on my credit cards. What am I going to do? I'm all stressed out. So that's how people end up turning to things like payday loans as well. Even just for day-to-day, everyday things. And that's how it starts, to get themselves caught up in that cycle. So the good news is there are a lot of organizations that are trying to do what they can to help their employees, right? There's education programs, online seminars, in-person counseling, great tools, techniques. The challenge with that is how people are using it. How many people are using it? Well, 90% of the American corporations offer some sort of financial wellness education. About a third of the population actually takes advantage of it. And the scary thing after that is 2 years later, most of them seem to have forgotten what they've learned. And for 401ks, absolutely great programs, right? These are all good things that people do. And I've seen a number of studies, the numbers vary all over the place, but around 50% of the people that have access to a 401k actually actively contribute. If you think about, that's on the averages, right? We're not even talking about your typical warehouse worker or somebody that's on the line in a manufacturing company. They're probably even less likely, because what they're doing is they're not contributing because they're trying to meet those day-to-day needs, pay their expenses, pay their bills. So, should these people save? Absolutely. But they don't. Imagine a single mother with 2 children, right? Christmas is coming. This is another kind of scenario where this can happen. She could say to the kids, no, sorry, we're not going to have anything for Christmas this year, but that's not the way people work. So again, they get themselves caught up in the cycle. So what is the key to unlocking financial wellness? Well, I believe it's pretty simple. Is this what I can? Oh, there we go. I believe it's pretty simple. The education that you guys provide today to your employees, along with other tools and techniques that can help them to be able to find what financial wellness is. I look at it as spending a day walking in the shoes of your employee, thinking about the real life scenarios and situations that they face every single day. And we see companies out there today that are finding new ways to do more just-in-time financial wellness. The long-term planning, the education, recurring education, great. but more of a just-in-time scenario where they need a loan for a computer or some other short-term need comes up, trying to find ways to help them from turning to less ideal alternatives. Payday advances. Payday advances is a direct battle against having their employees turn to payday loans, right? And then, so if you were to think about it, again, what I would say is spend a day walking the shoes of your employees, think about their everyday situations, think about other tools such as what I just mentioned that you can add into your portfolio that you offer to your employees to help them face the reality. Because these are the realities that they face every single day. So when you leave today, a lot of stats, a lot of numbers, what I'd ask you to do is just think about one thing, and that's the shoes. You think about the shoes of the employee, and what would you do, and what help would you want if you had to walk in those same shoes? Thank you.
And that's our presentation. If you would like to learn more about how your company or organization can retain and engage your employees and relieve some of their financial stress, visit our website at paycheckdirect.com. Also, be sure to follow us on LinkedIn for more updates on employee financial wellness trends, insights on non-traditional voluntary benefits, and much more. So thanks again for listening to The Key to Unlocking Employee Financial Wellness.